My name is Helga. I'm an artist. I was born in Russia, but I now live in the United Kingdom, in London. And I work in household surrealism genre, which is about finding magic in everyday things.
어쩌다가 이색적이고 특별한 작업들을 하게 됐나요?
I've always liked staring at things for a long time. When I was little, I used to spend a lot of time with my grandma in her village, and there were not too many things to do, so I taught myself to entertain myself from a very early age. I would look at wood knots in the floor, I would look at patterns in the carpets above my bed, and this is how I taught myself to look at things more carefully and to appreciate what was in front of me.
작업 과정은 어떻게 되나요? 적합한 배경을 찾는 것도 어려움이 있을 것 같아요.
So could you tell us?
Well, it sometimes is a challenge, but I love a good challenge. And I don't know, it's going to be a long one. Is it okay? Yeah? Okay. I love a good challenge, and sometimes I create an animal first or an object first, and then look for the background in my archive of images, or sometimes I travel to a specific location and shoot on location. So it all depends on what's available and what I can do. So for example, during COVID, traveling wasn't allowed and I had to work with stock images even. So I always try to work with what I have to hand.
어떤 상상이 현실로 만들어지나요?
Oh, so Helga, what?
I have a very thick notebook full of ideas, and a lot of them just remain as ideas, and some of the things that I have there are brought to reality immediately, some after a few months. So it all depends on my schedule, and it also depends whether I feel like executing a particular work. It also has to resonate with me at that particular.
작가님께서 세상을 바라보는 시각이 궁금해요. 어떤 시각으로 세상을 바라봐야 작가님처럼 특별한 작업들을 할 수 있는 건가요?
It's all about taking time to look. My art is based on observations that I do on a daily basis. And to be honest, I stare at things longer than socially acceptable. I might just be looking at this book. I might be looking at how the pages are bound in this book. I might be looking at this little ribbon inside that book, which looks like a tongue. So, you know, if we add two eyes here, we would end up with a little creature. So it's all about really looking, actively looking and exploring what's around us. I think it's just a practice which everybody can develop, and I can be certain of that because my followers on Instagram send me images of what they can see now after following me for a couple of years. It is a skill that one can acquire quite easily, I think.
작가님께 영감을 주는 건 뭔가요?
Everyday life, just life in general, and all the little things, like little cracks in the wood, folds in fabric, everything.
동물 작업을 많이 하는 것 같은데 어떤 동물을 가장 좋아하시나요?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I don't have a favorite, but I think I work a lot with dogs and cats simply because they're domestic animals and we see them most often.
그러면 창작을 위해 그리고 감각을 잃지 않기 위해 하는 습관들이 있나요?
Well, the routine is that I have my sketchbook with lots of sketches, and I think for me the most important part is to actually sketch my observation after I've seen it. So for example, even today I might sketch this little bookmark, like this little ribbon in my sketchbook, and add a couple of eyes to it just to make sure I don't forget. So this is the most important part of my process, transferring the ideas from my head onto a page of a notebook, and then later I decide what to do with it.
자녀에게 어떤 교육들을 많이 하시나요? 왜냐면 흔히 한국의 많은 부모님들은 뭔가 아이들이 다른 생각을 하거나 그러면 뭔가 딴 생각하지 말라라고 하거나 아니면 상상력을 기르기 위해서 핸드폰을 하지 말라라고 많이 하는데 작가님께서는 자녀 교육법이 있나요?
Well, that's a very good question, and I think we're yet to figure out what's right and what's wrong here, because in our generation we didn't have any smartphones. But as a parent, we also, well, my husband and I will also set limits to how much our children can be on their phones. But I suppose in terms of parenting, the most important skill we're trying to teach them is to listen to yourself, like listen to themselves, listen to their heart, trying to be authentic in what they do, and also try to notice small things and try to be grateful for what.
그러면 아이들의 상상력을 유지하기 위해서, 아니면 어른이 되면 아이들이 상상력을, 어른이 되면 그런 아이 때 가졌던 상상력들을 잃어버리는 경우가 많은데, 그런 상상력들을 잃지 않기 위해서는 어떤 것들이 필요할까요?
I think the most important thing is always to just look at opportunities and be open to what life presents you with, because very often we have scenarios we work around, very often we have sort of scripts we live by, and I think it's very important to remember that we write our own scenarios for our lives, and creativity is not just about visual things, it's also about how we approach everyday tasks. And I think if we remember that there is no particular script, we automatically become more creative.
창작에 있어서 어려운 점은 뭔가요?
Sometimes finding a suitable object can be difficult. To be honest, when I was working on my banana pug installation, which started from a photograph, it was during COVID, and even finding bananas was a big challenge, because in supermarkets in Europe we had problems with groceries. And I remember it took me a few attempts to actually find the bananas. So challenges can be different, but there is always something fun about them, I think.
작품 소재 중에서 빨래가 많은데, 누군가에게는 하기 싫은 집안일이라는 게 작가님께서는 어떤 의미인지 궁금하고, 그리고 가장 좋아하는 집안일이 뭔지도 궁금합니다.
I have to explain the reason why I started doing art with laundries, I think, because laundry is something people like keeping out of their sight. It's something people don't like seeing, and I think there is a lot of beauty in it, and there is a lot of creative potential, and that's why I started working with laundry. However, it doesn't mean that doing laundry is my favorite thing. To be honest, out of all the household chores, I would always choose dishwashing, because it's something very comforting about just standing there in front of your sink and, you know, washing dishes in warm water.
옷을 소재로 하는 만큼 패션에도 신경을 쓸 것 같아요. 아까 뒤에도 되게 패션이 남다른 것 같았는데, 패션은 어떻게 신경을 쓰시나요?
Thank you so much. This outfit is made by a friend of mine, Irarari. She's an artist from Iceland, and she kindly let me wear this cardigan at this show in Korea. My interest in fashion comes from my experience in college, because I also have I have 3 years of fashion degree. I never graduated from a fashion faculty, but I spent 3 years studying it.
그러면 작가님에게 집은 휴식 공간 외에 어떤 의미를 주나요?
Home means a lot to me. Home is definitely a very important place for both rest and work, because my studio is in my house, and I think home also holds a lot of potential for expressing one's creativity. We can really express ourselves through furniture we choose, through artworks we put on our walls, and home is a place for joy as well. For me, my home is a place where I feel very happy. I also wanted to add that this is recreated from what I have at home. I have exactly the same cupboard in my home studio.
그러면 코로나로 인해 집에 있는 시간이 많아진 시기가 있었는데 그 시간 동안 뭘 하면서 보냈나요?
Well, I suppose I won't be original here with two children. It was tough, and we did some homeschooling. We also did our best to enjoy that time because we realized that it was unique. So we were doing baking, we were going for walks when we were allowed to do so. And I think for me personally, it was also a time to reflect on what I wanted to do next. It was also the time to reconsider some things in my life. So yeah, it was challenging, but I think in the end, it was a great learning curve.
일상에서 특별함을 찾기 위해 어떤 노력들을 하시나요?
As I've already mentioned, it's all about looking, and for me, it's looking without expectation. I'm just genuinely interested in how things look, sometimes also how things work. But for me, it's really fully immersing myself into the experience of looking and studying carefully what's in front of me. Sometimes it sparks ideas. Very often it doesn't, but to me it's always the time very well spent. To me it's like a visual meditation, and it's also about being grateful for what we have, for the variety of colors, variety of textures, variety of materials. I think our world is so abundant, and what I'm doing with my art is merely capturing that and making sure that more people see it.
많은 사람들이 중요하지만 못 보고 넘어가는 것은 뭐라고 생각하시나요?
What do you think people eat?
That's a very good question. I think it's the simplicity that we all miss, the genius of simplicity, and it's in everything, and it's not just in visual arts. It's in relationships as well. We very often like looking for complex things, but it is actually the most simplest things that are most delightful to me, and that's why I choose very simple objects for my art. I choose bread, I choose bananas, I choose grapes, because they're so simple and they're so universal. Yet it's so easy to overlook the little details about them that also have a lot of fun and beauty.
스스로를 묘사한 작품들이 인상 깊었는데 작가로서 헬가 스텐첼, 또 사람으로서의 헬가 스텐첼은 어떤 사람인가요?
I think me as an individual has a lot to learn from me as an artist. Having said that, I think I don't really draw a line between the two, and there is a lot of authenticity in my art. It's just that, as usual, it's just one side of me, and it's a public side of me. Of course, as a person, I also have my own struggles which don't necessarily translate into my art, but I wouldn't say that me as a person is too different from me as an artist.
그러면 많은 사람들이 뭔가 자신의 작품으로 큰 인기를 얻고 싶은데 자신이 뭔가 잘 못 만들었다 라는 생각으로 SNS에 사람들에게 공개를 하는 것을 꺼려하는 사람들이 많아요. 근데 저는 뭔가 SNS에 공개를 했기 때문에 이런 유명세도 얻을 수 있었다고 생각을 하거든요. 작가님께서는 어떻게 생각하시고 이들에게 해주고 싶은 말이 있나요?
Fascinating about social media is that there are a lot of like-minded people in the world, and when I first started publishing my images using hashtags and basic strategies to get my work seen, I very quickly realized that it does get seen across the world, and that was the most fascinating moment. And also to me it was important to connect with people authentically, like not doing like for like or follow for follow, but really looking out for people who share the same artistic values or human values as myself, and also genuinely following those whom I like, not because they're popular or because they have a lot of followers and I'm hoping that they would follow me back, but just following people whom I really admired and who I really wanted to learn from. So I guess this was my strategy, and I think it worked over the years. At least I'm very pleased with the community I have on social media. I'm very proud of it, and I'm also very attached to be honest. I really like my followers and I really enjoy in the conversations that we have.
직업 만족도는 5점 만점에 몇 점이고 예술가라는 직업은 어떤 직업이라고 생각을 하시나요?
Well, I think it's definitely 5 out of 5. That was an easy part. And about being an artist, I couldn't be happier, to be honest. And I think now is such a great time for artists because we have social media and the world has become a lot more united, and we just have a lot more connections with each other. And for artists it's great because we can reach out to people we couldn't reach out 10 or 20 years ago, and we can reach out to them just on our own without any representatives, galleries, agents, and I think it's the beauty of the time we live in. So I think to whoever is considering an artistic career, there couldn't be a better time to start.
그러면 원래 어떤 꿈을 가지고 있었나요? 그리고 지금의 꿈, 그리고 또 작업을 통해서 새로 생긴 꿈은 뭔가요?
I've always wanted to become an interior designer. When I was little, that was my dream. I wanted to create interiors. And I think now, even though I still like interiors and I'm constantly working on my own home, my goal is to reach out to as many people as possible globally and help them realize that they are building their own realities and they're building their own outlooks on life, be it interiors, be it photography, be it anything. So I think my goal now is just to inspire as many people as possible to see beauty in everyday objects.
그러면 자신만의 작품을 통해서 인기를 얻고 싶은 예술가를 꿈꾸는 사람들에게 해주고 싶은 말이 있나요?
Of course, as I already said, I think it's important to stay authentic and to connect to people who really inspire you, and that's it.
그러면 아까 말씀 주셨던 것처럼 작가님께서도 SNS를 통해서 큰 인기를 끄면서 알려졌는데 또 SNS가 가져다 준 가장 큰 기회는 무엇인가요?
Well, the biggest opportunity social media gave to me is exposure, international exposure. This is something I couldn't even dream about when I was little. It also made it possible to meet other creatives and other artists in the world who inspired me and who I'm honored to call friends now. And it's an amazing community. We exchange ideas, we exchange thoughts, we comment on each other's work, and it's very valuable for me. With regards to a piece of advice, as I already said, it's just pursuing what you like and doing projects that you like, staying authentic to yourself, and also listening to yourself, because with so many creative opportunities, it's easy to just get lost in them. Like, do I like photography? Do I like stop motion animation? Do I like fashion? And I think it's important to experiment, and also while doing that, it's important to listen to yourself and see what resonates with you and what doesn't. And go to social media with that and connect to people on that basis, and connect to people with shared values and with a similar outlook on life, or on contrary, get inspired by somebody who is totally different. I mean, it's up to you what strategy you choose, but I think the crucial part is to always stay.
앞으로는 어떤 작업들을 해나갈 건가요?
Oh, I always have lots of plans. The project I would like to undertake after coming back home from Korea is to merge photography with interior textiles and see what comes out of it. I'm really curious to explore how we can make interiors more creative and like make the most common interior items more interesting.
마지막으로 상상을 두려워하는 사람들, 또 상상을 쓸데없다고 말하는 수많은 사람들에게 한 말씀 해주세요.
I think there is nothing to fear. It's completely safe. I've been there many times. It's all good. And I think it only makes our lives more interesting. Imagination, that is. And for me, it's also like an exercise that I do every day. It's just a different outlook. Like, for example, if I come out of my house and see a crack on the wall, I might get upset and think that it needs to be fixed, and then I, get grumpy and so. But I might also think, oh, this crack looks like a crocodile, and then immediately my perspective changes and I'm no longer grumpy. So I can only recommend using imagination more, and I think it just generally makes life a lot more fun. Thank you so much for the
Thank
lovely
you.
questions. Thank you.